Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. We're so excited to be with you. And on behalf of Doctors Andre and Jenny and the entire Faith team, we want to welcome you to today's Behind the Faith. Shante, what's happening?
I'm so excited to be on here with you, Tando. Obviously, we are missing our husbands, but you know what? It's a good change up, yeah? Anyway, we want to welcome each and every one of you who are watching us from every platform. Welcome to you. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank you so much for standing with us, for watching Behind the Faith as we show you what we are doing behind the scenes. Listen, we have a jam-packed show today, and we cannot wait for you to enjoy it with us.
You better enjoy it with us, okay? And make sure you keep the conversation going on all our social media platforms. The handle is very simple, @MyFaithTV. Make sure you let us know what's happening. Make sure you let us know how you're enjoying the Faith Daily Devotionals. And if you're not already getting those, where have you been? I don't know what rock you live under, but simply email us, partner@myfaithtv.com, to say daily devotions, please. What a time the last couple of hours, really, it's a few days, has been. It's been amazing. Faith Revival has been so good. How are you enjoying that?
I mean, I just feel the revival that's breaking out in people. If you look at the Facebook comments, if you look at what's going on YouTube, something is happening. People are getting reawakened to what Jesus is doing in this hour. And remember, if you cannot catch it live, you can catch it on Faith Now. So come on, make sure that you have downloaded the app. Make sure that you're getting it, because listen, there is exclusive content on Faith Now just for you that you can glean from, that you can get the word of God in you every single day. Just like you're getting this revival week in, you are getting empowered by it. Faith Now is there for that reason as well.
And speaking of empowerment, something amazing is happening. Bande, you, Jade, everyone, we're just always catching up with what's happening in and around our nation. So Bande caught up with Michael Swain, and they're speaking about hate speech. You don't want to miss this. So go ahead and check this out.
So today I'm joined by Michael Swain from Freedom of Religion South Africa, and we're going to be talking the hate speech poll. We're going to be talking everything about hate speech and maybe getting into a few bit of tidbit information about what we can expect. Michael, welcome once again to Behind the Faith.
Wonderful to be with you, Banda. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, Michael, listen, in February, there was a court case against a Christian evangelist that took place. Can you actually elaborate more about this court case and tell us a bit more?
Yes, it was a very interesting and significant case. It took place in the Magistrates Court, serving as the Equality Court. And it involved a young evangelist who had shared his testimony at an open meeting. And in that meeting, he obviously glorified Christ and explained how Christ was his Lord, and said that he couldn't understand, among other things, how people could worship other gods. And a local Hindu organization took him to task for this and took a legal action out against him under PAPUDA, which is the Equality Act, basically claiming that what he said amounted to hate speech. Now, for SA, we were a friend of the court. That means that we were not for or against either party, but we were there very much to make sure that the court understood or understands what hate speech actually is and is not, because clearly and evidently it was not hate speech. It didn't amount to what hate speech. Hate speech in our constitution, by the way, is in section 16.2. It's an advocacy to hatred. In other words, I've got to persuade you or try to whip up hatred against somebody and then incite some form of harm against them. And that is a very high standard. And of course, the wider, as I think we said before on this show, the wider you define hate speech, the less free speech you actually have. And the problem with PAPUDA in its original format, which was passed in the year 2000, by the way, was that it included speech that was harmful and hurtful. Now, hurtful, how do you actually describe what hurtful is?
And that's actually quite interesting, because I can say something. I can, for example, you live in the Western Cape. I can say, well, the Stormers have the worst rugby team in the world, and that can be hurtful to you. Can that be considered hate speech?
Well, actually, interestingly not, because it does have to be within one of the protected categories, like race or religion or sex or gender or age or speech, at least. They're one of those protected categories. So I'm afraid the Stormers wouldn't count. You could say the most terrible things about them, and it still wouldn't be hate speech. But yes, but it is obviously very concerning, because the wider the definition of hate speech, the less free speech you actually have.
So, Michael, talking about this clarity on what hate speech is, can you go a bit deeper onto what now is defined as hate speech, and what can people say now? So someone who's listening at home and is like, okay, I hear what you're saying. You gave me the definition, but that was kind of like based on all the stuff that was happening with this young Christian evangelist, for example. But what is it now? What is defined now as hate speech? And what can I say and what can't I say?
Well, the Constitutional Court decided a case which is known as the Kulani Case. Kulani was a journalist, very prominent, wrote an article in the Johannesburg Sun newspaper, really vilifying and saying very unpleasant and derogatory things about the LGBT community and practice and what have you. And he was originally found to have been in breach of hate speech, and he appealed it, and eventually it got to the Constitutional Court. And his contention was that the definition of Papuda, of hate speech in Papuda in the Equality Act, was too broad, because particularly it included this word hurtful. And the Constitutional Court actually agreed with him, and they struck down the definition in Papuda, which is amazing because it actually has been enforced for some 21 years. And they said that the word hurtful was irredeemably vague. And they basically rewrote the definition of hate speech into Papuda, into the Equality Act. Now, I must just tell you, very importantly, that John Kulani was, in fact, although he's now deceased, his speech was considered to be hate speech. And the reason they said that was because it had elements of vilification, of detestation. It really went beyond what was acceptable speech. But they said very specifically that hate speech is speech that a reasonable person would understand that the words that have been spoken have a clear intention to be harmful or to cause harm and to promote or spread hatred. So you've got a double test. And that's very much the reflection of what the Constitution says. You must say or do something and intend that to do harm, and it must also be intended to propagate or to spread hatred. So that's a pretty high bar. It's got to be a level of vilification, detestation. You've got to say really, truly reprehensible things, and you've got to say them with a basis of trying to harm people and to cause people to hate them. And that is, I think, a very good definition. We were very happy with that outcome. And it obviously made the speech of Chetty particularly, which is why we so quickly and easily settled that case in the end, one which clearly fell well outside those parameters. So it was a good decision.
So, Michael, based on this definition of this conversation, how does this affect the hate speech bill? And on top of that, well, considering now that if someone is found guilty of a hate speech, there's potential jail time. So where does this put this whole hate speech bill, and what status does it find it in right now?
Well, the hate speech bill has now been basically revived before Parliament. And last year, you might remember, there was comments were opened and 103,000 submissions were made, basically objecting to the definition of hate speech, because unfortunately, and this does sometimes happen, when that bill was put back before Parliament, it did not reflect the same definition that the Constitutional Court had given for Papuda, the Equality Act. In fact, it's broader, because instead of having and, it has the word or. So in other words, if any one of those elements of spreading hatred or causing harm, any one element, it could be hate speech. So which is a crazy thing, that the criminal definition of hate speech, it's easier to be found guilty of the crime of hate speech than it is for a civil action, because Papuda is, of course, a civil action. You can get fined or be forced to make an apology or whatever that may be. So that is in and of itself very concerning. And the other thing which, of course, concerns us about the hate speech bill is that even though there is some level of protection for religious speech, which we also got because we lobbied and motivated so hard when it first came onto the table, it still isn't wide enough, because even the Deputy Minister, John Jeffrey, has said publicly that he doesn't think that it would cover statements that would be made outside of, say, a religious gathering or religious meeting. So crazily enough, the same pastor who might make a statement about, say, Christian viewpoint of marriage or sex or sexuality from the pulpit, which would be protected. If he then repeated that outside the church, or maybe one of his congregants posted on their website or on their Facebook page his statements, they could potentially be charged with hate speech. So we still have a battle to fight there. And we obviously are monitoring that very, very closely. Because a criminal offense, I mean, the first time in South African history, it would be a criminal offense. That's 3 years in jail for a first offense, 5 years for a second offense. And we also, by the way, say that it is unnecessary to have this type of law on the statute books, because we have a common law crime called crimen injuria, which, for example, if you say something that so vilifies somebody that it impairs their human dignity. For example, Penny Sparrow, Vicky Momberg, they used very reprehensible racist slurs. And they were actually charged under crimen injuria, which is a criminal offense, and found guilty. So we have these laws. Why do we need more laws to basically criminalize hate speech? We say no, and we are certainly pushing very hard to make sure that this doesn't actually come into the law of our land.
Yeah. So instead of enforcing the current laws, they're just creating new laws, and it becomes a perpetual cycle. But anyway, Mike, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Listen, we actually have, and we were chatting about this a bit earlier, a case study, if I can use that term, of something that happened in Norway around a hate speech bill. Can you talk us through this and how it could possibly apply to us here in South Africa?
Well, let's hope it never applies. But it is interesting that Finland, which is, strangely enough, it's a country with about 5.5 million people, of which 4 million people are largely Lutheran, i.e. traditional Protestant Christians. It happened in that context. And a member of parliament who'd actually been a minister, a cabinet minister, she made a couple of tweets and articles saying that she did not understand how the Lutheran Church could be supportive of the Gay Pride Week. And it was on that basis that she was charged with a criminal offense of hate speech. And essentially what this case is going to decide is, if you quote the Bible, because they said that it was the scriptures in the Bible that she quoted which were problematic. If you quote the Bible and what you say is in conflict with the more secular norms of the state that you live in, i.e. Norway in this instance, then potentially you can be a criminal, you can go to jail, literally. And interestingly enough, and again significantly, a Lutheran bishop who retweeted one of this Finnish Member of Parliament's articles, he also is up on a charge of hate speech because he basically replicated, if you like, the so-called hate speech that she made.
Sure. Well, interesting times that we live in, Michael, and so much stuff is taking place in and around the world. But anyway, if people would like to get a hold of you guys, want to find out more information, about these issues like the hate speech bill or things in schools or other issues affecting their religious freedoms, how can they get a hold of you guys?
The best place to go is our website, which is, of course, www.forsa.org.za. And when you go there, please sign up for our newsletter so that you never miss out on what's happening. We send updates and that type of thing. And please support us. We are entirely dependent upon people supporting us to do the work that we do. And then, of course, you can go to our Facebook page, Freedom of Religion SA, which we update on a constant basis. So, yes, stay informed. We really need to be aware because so many of these laws, unfortunately, in the past have kind of slipped under the radar because people simply weren't aware of them. So it is so important that we stay informed.
Well, thank you for your time, Michael. And I think it's very important what you guys do, gatekeepers or watchmen on a wall, so to speak. And it's very important for each and every single one of us as believers to be connected with organizations like Freedom of Religion South Africa and support the work that you guys do. So I want to encourage everyone who's connecting right now, who's watching right now, support organizations, support Freedom of Religion South Africa, support the work that they do, because it's important that we fight and push back and be very careful. And obviously we're very careful about the stuff that's happening in and around the world, but sometimes things get slipped in, and people like Michael Swain and the team are always there to catch such things. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. And thank you for the incredible work that you guys are doing, Michael.
Thank you so much, bud. It's always a great pleasure to be on your show.
Well, it's a pleasure chatting to you again, and we'll see you next time.
There you have it. Bande, Michael Swain, 4SA, hate speech, everything that is happening. be a part of the conversation. Shantae, I don't know about you, but for me, I not only have I been enjoying the Revival Week, not only have I been enjoying a lot of content, including podcasts on this platform, but Faith Now is amazing. You already started alluding to that, but can you just enlighten people on what they can expect on Faith Now?
Faith Now is this awesome streaming platform that we have just for you, where you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to the radio, or just watch your favorite sermons right there in video format. And you know what? You can even catch these very shows. Quick Study with Rod Hembry, Mondays to Fridays at 3 p.m. and Faith Kids with Brad and Jazan, Fridays at 4 p.m. You can catch this on Faith Now if you can't get it live on DSTV or when it's broadcasted on DSTV channel 341. This is all the content available for you. Take part of it.
Yeah, you better. I mean, look, I really enjoy the fact that I could be listening to Faith Now and I can minimize it, because that's one thing that's very important for me.
That other apps don't do.
Girl, I have to be able to make my notes while I'm listening to something. I appreciate that. I truly appreciate that. And talking about Faith Now, we get to hear the heart of Faith Now. Why Faith Now? From our Vice President of Operations, Gavin Flanagan. So take a look at this conversation, Bunday and Gavin Flanagan.
So hi Faith family, I am joined today by none other than Gavin Flanagan, our Vice President of Global Operations, and we're going to be talking about Faith Now. So Gavin, welcome to Behind the Faith, and it's good to finally have you on this side of the camera and not on my lap at least.
Morning, Bundy. Yeah, no, it's always good to be with you guys. The last time you had me on was for the Dome update, but it'll be nice to talk about Faith Now and what Faith Now is, where Faith Now is going, kind of thing.
Cool. Well, let's jump straight into it. And you know, for the viewer at home, we've been talking Faith Now for over 2 years or nearly 2 years, because it's beginning of 2020.
18 months.
18
so
months.
1st of March 2020.
So we kick things off. So, but the question is, what is Faith Now?
I think the simple answer is that Faith Now is a streaming platform.
Okay.
It's a streaming platform that can be downloaded on an app, streamed on the website, but more than just a streaming service, it's what Faith Now is that Faith Now is a single platform with multiple channels.
Okay.
So I think that's the important thing, is that it's an amalgamation of like-minded ministries, television ministries, on a single platform where people can view not only linear channels, but at this point, I think it's about 7,000 plus hours of video on demand content.
Sure. Okay, so we're talking Faith Now, we're talking what it's about, but let's take a few steps back and talk about the vision and the heart of Faith Now. So when this whole thing started, why did we actually do this?
The main reason behind it was a single platform, multiple channels. I think that's ultimately the main reason why we started it. Every single ministry, television ministry out there, has got their own channel on a platform.
Yes.
And when Faith Now was birthed, it was more about having multiple channels for viewers from around the world to be able to view great, wholesome family content on a single platform. I think that's ultimately where it started. But I think the important thing is also to know the evolution of it.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question is, okay, we've got this thing going, but where are we going now?
So we're looking at Faith Now, the evolution of the brand into Faith Now Extra, Faith Now Max, Faith Now Kids. One of the most amazing things of our previous app, where the kids content is 60% of our current VOD consumption. And that's where the evolution is for us. We're looking at Faith Now Extra, where we're wanting to add additional channels. Faith Now Max, where not only do we add a multitude of more channels, but radio channels, video on demand content, and conferences.
Yes.
So when we look at the evolution of the brand, It's trying to bring all this additional wholesome family content, but with added extras. We're looking at the kids' content from a free perspective, in the sense of, at the moment, we've got Faith Now as a subscription-based model, but kids' content, we're wanting to look at it from a free usage. So you can subscribe to the app, but it's not a paid platform for kids' consumption. Whereas at $1.99, you're currently getting the 6 linear channels, 2 radio channels, and then, like I said earlier, 7,000 plus hours of video on demand content.
Yeah.
Where we're at the moment is we're busy negotiating additional channels.
Yeah.
And it's birthed from something that late former President Nelson Mandela said, where if you speak to a man in another language, you speak to his mind. But if you speak to a man in his home language or his mother tongue, you speak to his heart. And I think that's where we're kind of wanting this evolution to go.
Yeah.
Is to have Faith Now spoken in so many different languages that we truly become a global network.
Yeah.
And a global brand.
Yeah.
Speaking to people in a wholesome family way in their mother tongue.
Sure.
And I think that's ultimately where we want to go. Where we're at now is just the beginning to what Faith Now is going to evolve into and expand into.
Sure. You know, it's actually quite interesting because it reminds you of the scripture in the book of Acts where it says, here come the ones who've turned the world upside down. And that's the whole heart behind the thing, because, you know, you spoke about the multiple languages, the former President Nelson Mandela. And it's quite interesting because, you know, when you look at the whole landscape, it's Jesus when he spoke to people. He spoke in parables because he spoke their language. He spoke in a way they understood. He spoke about farming because they were farmers.
Yeah.
He spoke about managers because people worked for people. He spoke about wages because people could understand. And that's the whole beauty behind this. But, you know, so we've got this whole vision thing of where we're going. We've got this whole idea and concept of where we're going. But, you know, sometimes technology has a tendency to get people kind of knocked off. So how do I become a part of Faith Now? So walk me through this whole process. How do I subscribe? How do I download? What do I do? You know, just to help a few people who are watching right now as well.
Well, for the viewers at home, the easiest way to get Faith Now is via the website faithnow.net.
Yeah.
Faithnow.net, you can go on, select the tier you want to be on in the near future, or browse the site to see if it's something that you want to be a part of. And the other ways is obviously to download it from the different app stores, be it Google Play,
iOS, Apple
Store, and Microsoft for Xbox.
Yes.
So those are the easy ways to get it. And I think once you're there, you'll see that what the brand is, what we're trying to achieve, where we want to go in the future.
Yeah.
I think within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're kind of going to brand our website in such a way that people know what we're trying to launch as well, rather than just what we are now, what we're wanting to become.
Cast some vision,
cast some vision for the people, because ultimately the whole idea behind Faith Now and the $1.99 subscription fee was that Faith Now would fund its own growth.
Yeah.
We know that we kind of 99 cents or $1 goes to our back-end developers and our CDN costs and kind of that, and then we've got 99 cents to kind of pay it forward. So that's kind of where it is. And then there's also the opportunity for people that do buy into the vision, that they subscribe. They are able to subscribe and watch on 5 devices with a single subscription.
Wow, that's good.
And then there's also the ability to pay it forward. As I said, you can subscribe for somebody else that you want to bless. So there is that option that you can subscribe for them for a year or a month, and you forward that subscription onto them. So that's where we're at the moment, from where we are where they can get it, and hopefully a kind of an insight of where we want to go in the future.
Okay, wow. So that's Faith Now, and obviously with the future of television and media going all sorts of online, and everything is easy access on the phone. So I can get it on my phone,
You can.
tablet, I can watch it on my website, I can watch it on my smart TV, TV box, all of that stuff. So all of that's settled and sorted.
Correct, yeah. It's pretty much, streaming has become the new normal. The funny statistics is that video on demand content and streaming content was consumed in the past 18 months to 2 years is more than what was consumed for the previous 7 years.
Wow.
So it kind of shows you where not only technology is going, but how people are consuming streaming as a content medium. I mean, you know it from Netflix have got record number of subscribers.
Yep.
Disney Plus in the last quarter increased their subscriber base for 15 million people.
Wow.
Or 15 million subscribers. So VOD content and streaming consumption is on the up.
Yes.
And I don't think that's going to change. If anything, traditional linear television networks have to adapt to what the new normal is.
Yeah. Well, Gav, thank you so much for joining me today, and just before we can talk a bit about Faith Now. So there you have it, guys. Faith Now, it's something that you can be a part of. You can join on to Faith Now, be a part of Faith Now. The details on the screen. You can click on the website, and you can subscribe to Faith Now and be a part of the next revolution. Faith Now, right here on Behind the Faith.
Great content 24/7 at your fingertips. This is so amazing. Now, I know, Shante, you have something on your heart for every single one of our partners. So take it away.
I want to encourage you with this. Galatians 6 verse 7 says, God cannot be mocked. Whatever a man sows, that is what he will reap. And yes, we know that Paul was talking about sowing to the flesh and reaping of the flesh. But then if you sow to the Spirit, you reap life everlasting. Now, this can be applied to our finances as well, to partnership with this ministry as well. Whatever you sow is what you will reap. If you are sowing finances, you're going to reap finances. If you are sowing to the Spirit, this is what God requires of us. He cannot be mocked. He has said, when we sow, we shall reap. That there is seed time and harvest. He's the one that put these things in place, these principles in place. And I want to encourage you with this. Whatever you are needing today, whatever you are believing for, ask the Lord, what can I sow? Because here's the thing, we cannot only believe for ourselves, we must believe for beyond ourselves. And you sowing into this ministry, you partnering with this ministry, you are believing for beyond yourself. Why? With your seed, we are reaching the nations. With your seed, Faith Now can go out with powerful word, powerful preachings and teachings that are continuously changing and transforming people's lives. This is what you can be a part of, and I just want to encourage you. I want to urge you. I want to nudge you on. Do what God is doing. Just be obedient to Him, because He cannot be mocked. Whatever we sow, that is what we shall reap.
And there's all the details where you can sow so you can reap right there on your screen, or simply go to our website, myfaith.tv, and you can catch all the information that you're wanting right there. Stay connected to what's happening in the Faith family of networks. Mondays to Thursdays, there's Faith Today live at 6 p.m. Central African Time. Fridays, the next 6 p.m. Central African Time. And then on Sundays, Take Me to Church, dressed in your Sunday's best. That's Faith Worship at 9 a.m. On behalf of Doctors Andre and Jenny and the entire team right here at Faith Broadcasting Network, we love you. We cannot wait to see you again. God bless you.